What is going on, guys? Sometimes it's pretty easy to tell when you have a great wide receiver prospect on your hands. There was never a doubt that guys like Julio Jones, AJ Green, Kelvin, Johnson, and Amari Cooper would morph into big-time talents, for example. But over the years, some grade A wide receiver prospects have reminded us that nobody is a sure thing to succeed in the NFL. With that, let's dive into the biggest wide receiver draft bust in every year from 2000 to 2019. 2000. Peter Warrick, a three-time first-team All-ACC selection with Florida State. He was drafted 4th overall by the Bengals. He wasn't terrible by any means. He did have a trio of 600-plus yard seasons, and he had a career-best 819 in 2003, but he didn't perform the way you'd expect for a top 5 selection. In 6 total NFL seasons, one of them with the Seattle Seahawks, he compiled just 275 total receptions for 2,991 yards and 18 touchdowns. 2001, David Terrell. He was the first receiver drafted in 2001, going 8th overall to the Chicago Bears. But the Michigan star was unable to translate his skills over to the NFL level, never topping more than 699 yards in a single season. He lasted just 4 seasons in Chicago, and the draft selection netted them nothing more than 1,602 receiving yards. He later signed with the Denver Broncos, but he was unable to secure a job there. He was out of the NFL soon after. 2002. LELIE. Dante Stallworth, the first receiver selected, carved out a pretty solid career. But LELIE, whom the Broncos took with the 19th selection, just couldn't get it going at the professional level after starring in Hawaii. He did post one 1,000-yard season for the Broncos in 2004, but he otherwise never got close to that number again. He had 1-year stops in San Francisco and Oakland, but again, he just couldn't regain that 04 magical form. He finished with just 217 career receptions for 3,749 yards and 15 touchdowns. 2003. Charles Rogers. There's a case to be made that Rogers is the biggest wide receiver bust of all time, and not just the biggest flop of the 03 class. The 2002 unanimous All-American was marred by injuries and suspensions in his extremely short-lived NFL career. Rogers only played in 15 total games from 03 to 05, totaling 36 receptions for 440 yards and 4 touchdowns. Tragically, he passed away on November 11, 2019 at the age of 38 from liver failure. 2004. Reggie Williams. This class is best remembered for being the year of the quarterbacks, specifically Eli Manning, Phillip Rivers, and Ben Roethlisberger. And hey, Larry Fitzgerald went 3rd overall here to the Arizona Cardinals. And then there's Reggie Williams, whom the Jacksonville Jaguars selected 9th overall. Unfortunately, the Washington Huskies star couldn't reach his full potential, although mediocre quarterback play in Duval County didn't help. Williams crossed the 600-yard mark twice in his 5-year career, which is a huge disappointment for a first-round draft pick. Williams sat out the 09 season and eventually signed with the Seattle Seahawks, only to get released soon after. He briefly played for the CFL's Toronto Argonauts, but was released in the 2013 season. Williams was then out of football for good. 2005. Troy Williamson. The Minnesota Vikings acquired the number 7 selection here from the Oakland Raiders in the Randy Moss blockbuster trade. Many tried replacing the future Hall of Famer by selecting South Carolina wideout Troy Williamson with that pick from Oakland. Williamson became infamous for dropping so many easy passes during his time with the Vikings. His career lasted just 5 seasons, spending his final 2 with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Williamson never topped 455 yards in a season, and he finished with only 4 career touchdowns. Not exactly what you want in a top 10 draft pick, especially when the guy is supposed to replace the production of a superstar like Randy Moss. 2006. Chad Jackson. Santonio Holmes was the only receiver taken in the first round of the draft, but the Super Bowl 43 MVP pieced together a pretty solid career. That means we gotta move down the order, and that brings us to the second receiver taken in this draft. Chad Jackson. He meets the requirements for being a draft bust. As great as Bill Belichick is, drafting and developing wideouts hasn't really been his forte. Case in point with Jackson. The Patriots actually traded up via the Green Bay Packers to snag the 6'1", 210-pound receiver. Unfortunately, a hamstring injury hampered Jackson in the rookie year, and he suffered an ACL tear in the Patriots' AFC Championship loss to the Colts. Jackson only played 2 games in 2007, and he didn't make a single catch. After getting released, Jackson tried reviving his career with the Broncos. He caught 1 pass and was used briefly as a special teams returner. Jackson signed with the Raiders and Buffalo Bills, but never made their rosters. In his 3 NFL seasons, Jackson had just 14 receptions for 171 yards and 3 touchdowns. 2007. Craig Davis. Craig Davis, whom the San Diego Chargers selected at number 30, was far from productive in his brief NFL career. The 6'1", 210-pound LSU product was never going to outshine teammate Vincent Jackson and Antonio Gates. Truth be told, Phillip Rivers didn't really need Davis, and his career lasted just 4 seasons. He retired with 151 total receptions for 558 yards and 2 touchdowns. 2008, Donnie AVERY. Not a single receiver was taken in the first round here. Finally, the St. Louis Rams broke the ice by taking the speedy Donnie AVERY 33rd overall. AVERY showed promise in his rookie season with 53 receptions for 674 yards and 3 touchdowns. But his tenure with the Rams was short-lived. He missed all of 2010 with a knee injury, and AVERY only suited up in 8 games for the Tennessee Titans in 2011. AVERY signed with the Colts in 2012, and he became a useful player with 60 receptions for 781 yards and 3 touchdowns. That was a career year for AVERY, but he never came close to those numbers again when he signed with the Chiefs in the 2013 offseason. AVERY was released by the Chiefs in 2015, and he never played another NFL game after that. 2009, Heyward-Bey. Another reminder here that the Oakland Raiders were downright awful at drafting in the 2000s. The 2009 draft class produced some good receivers: Michael Crabtree, Jeremy Maclin, Mike Wallace, and Percy Harvin. But Heyward-Bey, whom the Raiders took at number 7 overall, just never got it going. With the exception of a productive 2011 season, he had 64 receptions for 975 yards and 4 touchdowns that year, but Heyward-Bey never came close to repeating those totals. After a 4-year run in Oakland, Heyward-Bey played 1 season with the Colts and 5 with the Pittsburgh Steelers. But again, he just wasn't able to repeat that magical 2011 campaign. He was a solid number 3 receiver at times, but the Raiders hoped for far more, considering he was a 7th overall pick. 2010. Arrelious Benn. The Buccaneers drafted Benn with the 39th overall selection in 2010. The 2 wideouts taken before him, Demaryius Thomas and Dez Bryant, both became Pro Bowlers. But the Illinois product just wasn't able to make it work in Tampa. Although poor quarterback play didn't help matters. He never topped 30 receptions or 441 yards in a season, and the Bucs gave up after just 3 years. He was traded to the Eagles in the 2013 offseason, but an ACL tear kept him out of football for the next 3 years. He joined the Jaguars in 2016, but he only caught 6 passes in his 2 seasons there. Benn was out of football after the 2017 season. 2011, Jonathan Baldwin. Coming off an AFC West division winning season, the Kansas City Chiefs decided to add a stud pass catcher to complement their star running back Jamal Charles on offense. They drafted Pittsburgh product Jonathan Baldwin with the 26th selection. But Baldwin's career got off to a brutal start. He and teammate Thomas Jones got into a locker room fistfight in preseason, and Baldwin suffered a wrist injury in the scuffle. He didn't make his debut until week 7. Baldwin spent just 2 seasons with the Chiefs, totaling 41 receptions for 579 yards and 2 touchdowns. He was traded to the 49ers in the 2013 offseason, but Baldwin only caught 3 passes for 28 yards with his new team, and that turned out to be his final NFL season. 2012, Justin Blackmon. Blackmon was one of the biggest can't-miss wide receiver products to come around in decades. He had all the tools necessary to be a game-changing superstar. The Jaguars drafted Blackmon 5th overall, but unfortunately, legal troubles and suspensions completely derailed what could have been an excellent career. He was arrested for a DUI before his 2012 rookie season. A year later, he was suspended twice for violating the league's substance abuse policy. During the 2014 offseason, he was arrested again for possession of marijuana. Though he hasn't officially retired, Blackmon hasn't played since 2013. He had 1,280 yards on 93 receptions and 6 touchdowns through his first 2 NFL seasons. If it weren't for league suspensions and problems with the law, Blackmon really could have been something special. 2013. Tavon Austin. The Rams thought they found themselves a star utility weapon when they drafted Austin 8th overall in 2013. Austin performed well in the special teams department and as an occasional runner, but he only caught 40 passes for 418 yards and 4 touchdowns. I mean, come on, Rams.
Come on. Come on!
You don't take a receiver with a top 10 pick so he can be used mainly for gadget plays and on special teams. Austin's best season with the team came in 2016, when he had 509 yards. He's been a serviceable player at times, but Austin hasn't come anywhere close to living up to these sky-high expectations. That's enough to put him in bust territory. 2014. Kelvin Benjamin. After leading Florida State to a national championship, the 2013 first-team All-American was drafted 28th overall by the Carolina Panthers. Benjamin enjoyed a phenomenal rookie year with 73 receptions for 1,008 yards and 9 touchdowns. But an ACL tear in practice forced him to miss the entire 2015 season. When Carolina reached the Super Bowl, Benjamin bounced back with 63 receptions for 941 receiving yards and 7 touchdowns in 2016. But that was his last good season. He was largely unproductive during the 2017 campaign, prompting Carolina to trade him to the Buffalo Bills. Benjamin struggled mightily without Cam Newton, and the frustrated Bills released him in the midst of the 2018 season. He signed with Kansas City late in the year, but caught just 2 passes in 3 appearances. Nobody signed Benjamin for the 2019 season. 2015. Kevin White. What more can we say? White's injuries prevented him from being a star. It's really as simple as that. Drafted 7th overall by the Chicago Bears. A shin and tibia injury forced White to miss his entire rookie year. He suffered a fractured fibula that ended his 2016 season early. Then a broken collarbone injury in week 1 of the 2017 season forced White to miss the remainder of that year. White saw limited action in the 2018 season, catching 4 passes for 92 yards. The Bears decided to give up on White, who signed with the Arizona Cardinals in 2019, only to get released before the start of the season. 2016, Corey Coleman. The Browns traded the number 2 pick to the Philadelphia Eagles, who happily selected future star quarterback Carson Wentz. Cleveland eventually moved down to the 15th slot, taking Baylor wideout Corey Coleman. Now you have to feel for Coleman, who was stuck in an awful situation. He only spent 2 seasons with the Browns, and over that time frame, they only won a single game. They went 0-16 in 2017. How was Coleman supposed to do anything with Cleveland's revolving door of quarterbacks? Injuries also limited Coleman to just 19 total games in his 2 seasons with the Browns. He caught just 56 passes for 718 yards and 5 touchdowns. A 1-year stop with the New York Giants in 2018 didn't amount to much. Coleman had just 5 receptions for 71 yards and 8 games in the Big Apple. He missed the entire 2019 season after suffering a torn ACL, but he remains a member of the G-Men after signing a 1-year extension in 2020. 2017. John Ross. Still relatively early here, but the Bengals are lying if they tell you they weren't hoping for better. The 2 receivers taken ahead of Ross were Corey Davis and Mike Williams, both whom have grown into reliable number 2 pass catchers. Meanwhile, we're still waiting for Ross, the 9th overall selection from 2017, to break out. Injuries unfortunately limited him to just 24 games through his first 3 seasons. He showed promise in 2018 by recording 7 touchdown passes in 13 games. If he can finally get healthy, Ross will make us look stupid for placing him here. But the key word for now is if. 2018. Dante Pettis. The 2018 draft class for wideouts looks tremendous already. Calvin Ridley, Cortland Sutton, Christian Kirk, Michael Gallup, and DJ Moore. Sign us up. It's still early and all, but if the San Francisco 49ers had a do-over, they probably would have taken Dante Pettis with the number 44 selection. Through his first 2 NFL seasons, the Washington product logged just 38 receptions for 576 yards and 7 touchdowns. The 49ers simply need better going forward. Otherwise, Pettis' tenure in San Fran will be short and sweet. 2019. KealHarry. Yes, it's way too early and a lot can change. But based on 2019, it's safe to say that Harry disappointed more than any other wideout from the 2019 class. The 1 receiver taken before Harry, Marquise Brown, had a productive rookie year for MVP Lamar Jackson. As for Harry, he was drafted 32nd overall by the Patriots, who needed the pass catcher following Rob Gronkowski's retirement. Unfortunately, an ankle injury forced him to miss the Patriots' first 9 games, and he didn't debut until week 10. And when he finally did suit up, Harry was far from productive. He hauled in just 12 receptions for 105 yards and 2 touchdowns. But again, he was an injured rookie. The dude still has plenty of time to turn it around and emerge as a star for the post-Tom Brady era. Who do you think is the biggest NFL wide receiver draft bust of all time? Join me in the comment section below. Make sure to follow myself and TPS on social media, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. We're on everything. Go find us. Go subscribe. Go follow. Go do everything. If you like this video, give it a like. It takes a click down below. And of course, subscribe to TPS. We post videos every single day. Every day is a new video. Of course, thank you so much for watching. I'm Jason Biondo. See you next time.
On my knees.